Hello, this is Chapter 3, Affirming Your Competitive Advantage, the Resources and Capabilities Audit from Strategy and Kellogg's textbook. Okay, so let me get to the next slide. All right, resources and capabilities. Now, resources for a company, these are physical assets. Um, they could they could also be non-physical assets, but they are things. They're nouns. Things a company can have. Examples are trademarks, patents, um, talented members of their staff or personnel, brand recognition, name, location of the store. These are all resources. Capabilities are more like verbs, things a company does very well. Um, are they a great manufacturer? Do they provide great customer service? Um, are they able to redesign products quickly to meet market needs? So together, resources and capabilities are what gives firms an advantage over other companies, which improves their competition. Now, scarcity is a term the textbook talks about a great deal, and you what's if you have a resource or capability that's scarce, meaning that um, few other companies or firms possess it, you have an advantage. So if you could do something well that no other company can do, or if you have a resource or an ability that few to no companies can match, you have a competitive advantage. Now, without the scarcity, there's going to be just too much competition. If it's a market it's easy to get into, easy to compete against, then your profits are going to be tight. You know, for example, if you look at uh, gas stations are highly competitive. The profit margins in the gallon of gas are pennies, are in the single digit percentages. So why is that? Well, it's relatively easy to start a gasoline station or franchise and compete with two or three other people down the block. It's relatively easy to contract and get gas delivered. So there's really nothing, and the gasoline is pretty much the same for all gas stations. I know, living in Long Island, I've heard people tell me, "Oh, go to this Sunoco has better gas," or go to this Amco. And then I remember when I was in college, I worked in a gas station, and I used to talk to the truck drivers, and they used to come and bring the gas. And I would say, "What do you think about the Sunoco gas? Is it better?" They would tell me, "Well, it comes from the same terminal as all the other gas stations' gas. So it's the same gas and the tanks at your local gas station to the six nearest gas stations, all coming from the same refinery, the same pickup point. So gas is pretty much the same. Hence, that's why we don't see too much difference in price unless you have a resource like a good location, a location where there's not a lot of competitors, or a location close to, getting onto the southern state or expressway, and you see the prices are a little bit higher because they have an advantage. Okay, now immobility. If you think about resources and capabilities, they can be both mobile or immobile. But if these resources and capabilities are immobile, that means they can't be bought or sold without the firm's permission. Um, if the resources can be purchased or sold, no other firm can use them as productively as you can. So these are the two things. So if you have, on one side, if you have certain resources, patents, um, locations, building, equipment that nobody else can get, you have an advantage. On the other side of it, if your resources are common to the market, meaning anybody can easily get a hold of them, but something about your firm, the way you utilize these assets, um, these resources and capabilities to make something that nobody else can, or do something in a way that's cheaper, faster, better compared to other people with the same resources, you know, then you have an advantage. Okay. So here's some mobility issues that the book talks about and some examples. Nike and Foot Locker. Nike makes a shoe that they need stores to sell them in. They can't sell everything directly. Foot Locker relies on Nike being a huge selection of Nike to gather to make the store attractive. So people who like that brand can come in, see all different sizes, designs, shapes, and get pretty much the full line of Nike at Foot Locker. So at one point, um, they wanted to test this. So Foot Locker figured that since Nike shoes are expensive, maybe they could do well pushing other brands. Nike, wasn't very happy about this, so they limited Foot Locker's access to their shoes, and both companies suffered. And eventually, um, they figured out that okay, Foot Locker needs to carry the full line of Nike, and for Nike to have the sales that they did, they need to be involved with Foot Locker. So they're, tied to each other. Now, if you look at Gap and Levi's, the Gap stores used to sell exclusively and a great deal of Levi's jeans, exclusively certain sizes and brands. Other stores also sold Levi's at the time, but Gap had the cornerstone on a larger selection of them. Then, jeans are very profitable. So Gap wanted to make their own private label. And Levi's said, why not also sell at Walmart? Gap didn't like the idea of selling Levi's jeans that also Walmart was selling. Um, and Levi's decided that, maybe through selling through Walmart, they could reach more people. But what they had to consider was, their brand, which is a strong asset. Would they tarnish it by selling Levi's jeans at Walmart? Is this, are Levi's popular because they're sold at the Gap? Is the Gap profitable because they sell Levi's and attracts customers into the store to buy other merchandise? So these are capabilities and resources that the companies together are being able to create something that no other two companies can create. And sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a lesson like separating from each other to figure out the mobilities, the issues with the mobility of selling their products elsewhere. Another example could be TV stars and TV shows. Some TV shows are built around certain stars. And if the star leaves, that's a mobile asset. So if that star leaves and he goes somewhere else, then the TV show can suffer or be canceled rather quickly. That's why the networks will have, or the TV studios that produce these shows will have long contracts with people, 7-year contracts, because they know how important they become to the show, and they can't really operate the show if they leave. Now you have certain exceptions, like CSI has run through a number of large number of well-known actors to head that show. You've had the show, if you look at a show like The Office this year, Steve Carell left The Office, and they kept the show going, but ratings are down significantly. And it's not certain they'll be renewed for another year. So these are, anytime you have, if you don't recognize this asset, these resources or capabilities, and their value, and try to make them immobile, the mobility of these assets means that somebody else can gain access to them, or duplicate them in some way. Okay. So co-specialization, scarcity and co-specialization, we could kind of see that in the Levi's and Gap example, and the Nike and Foot Locker example. Now, if you are a company and you want to buy somebody else's specialization, you have to have, they're not going to sell it cheap. If someone does something they're the best at something, or they have an extreme amount of success, say Pixar with their animated features, or Tropicana with their ability to sell juice, orange juice and other juices. What you have there is a recognized specialty, and companies that have known resources and capabilities, such as Tropicana and Pixar. And what you have is when companies want to acquire these other companies, for example, there was a bidding war on Tropicana, and eventually Coke acquired. There was also, if you look at Gatorade, Gatorade was the only sports drink that At the time, it had almost 90% of the market. No other sports drink. Both Coke and Pepsi designed 6 different sports drinks to compete with Gatorade. None of them were successful. Hence, a huge bidding war took place to purchase Gatorade. Eventually, Pepsi won that. Now, if you look at Disney and Pixar, well, let's go back to why did Coke buy Tropicana and Pepsi buy Gatorade? Well, they paid more than they should have, or certainly paid the full value of that unique uh, resource or capability, because they knew that through their distribution system, they could make even more money, sell even more product than Tropicana or Gatorade had done previously. That's why Pepsi paid way too much for Gatorade. I think it was something like 12 billion. Either way, they knew that even though they're paying a super large premium for this company through their distribution, their vending machines, their stores, they could create a synergy. 1 + 1 = 5, basically, get more out of the deal based on their unique capabilities, which for Coke and Pepsi is really their ability to distribute their product. You look at our college campuses; they will lock in either Coke or Pepsi on a college campus or in a particular restaurant, and that's part of the network process. So if Pepsi has the contract for Stony Brook, then they're going to put Gatorade everywhere, and it'll help sell through the distributors and then give access to Gatorade to markets they normally would not have. Now, when Disney bought Pixar, they paid a huge amount for Pixar, in fact, making Steve Jobs the largest shareholder of Disney at the time. Why did they do this? Because they knew that um, this would be able, through Disney's distribution and merchandising and network, they could make even more money distributing and owning Pixar than just, being a paid distributor of their films. So even though they paid an extreme amount for Pixar, they could make even more money than if someone just bought Pixar by themselves that had no ability to really enhance the product. Okay, so sometimes if you realize there's a competitive advantage in another company, and the other company realizes that they have something special, they're not going to sell the company for cheap. So the only reason to buy a company like that is if you know that you can make more out of that company than they currently are based on your company's strengths. Okay, so let's talk about scalable assets. Um, Scalable assets, as I like to say in class sometimes. So um, if you have scalable assets, then you're able to apply them to new markets and new products more easily. So the most scalable assets definitely are diversifiable into new markets. Production is easy to reproduce, and you have easy access to capital. Okay, so let's think McDonald's, or even for that matter, Starbucks, or any one of the fast food restaurants, Kentucky Fried Chicken. You know, are you able to take these restaurants and move them into new markets? Will McDonald's work in foreign countries? Will Starbucks work in foreign countries? Will Kentucky Fried Chicken work in foreign countries? And since this has already occurred, we know definitely it will. So check one. Number two, is the production easy to reproduce? Um, Whether or not it is easy to reproduce, they have been able to reproduce the production of Starbucks coffee, McDonald's hamburgers, excuse me, and the making of Kentucky Fried Chicken into new franchises, into markets in the way that's done so well. No matter where you go, McDonald's hamburgers taste like a McDonald's hamburger, and a grande mocha frappuccino tastes the same from Starbucks to Starbucks. Now, third is easy access to capital. Having set up a franchise system uh, enables these companies a little bit more easier access to capital, or having the company go public and raising funds through a public IPO also helps these companies to expand more easily. Okay, so if you have a genuine resource or capability that can be pushed and moved to other areas, then that is going to be crucial. Maybe one of your biggest assets is your brand. If you think about the Oreo brand, Oreo cookie, that was something that was not only diversifiable into new markets, not only is it easy to reproduce, Not only does the company who makes the Oreo have access to capital, they've realized that this brand name is such a powerful um, resource that they can leverage it into many new products. And if you look at Oreos, let's see if I can get up uh, some information on this. Okay, so here we are, and we have the lovable Oreos up here, and we see that um, right here we have 62 brand extensions of the Oreo product. So just a few, we have the Golden Oreo, we have the Berry Burst Ice Cream Oreo, we have the Fudge Creams Peanut Butter Oreo. If we go to the next page, we have double stuff, of course, and then there's triple stuff, and there's Cool Mint Cream, there's peanut butter cream, there's mini Oreo, bite size, uh, chocolate fudge mint covered. Okay, and we go through more, and then we have Halloween Oreos, we have reverse Oreos, we have, um, let's see, here is the chocolate mint and cream Oreo, the spring Oreo. Okay, so you can just see here that the Oreo brand extension, because they know they have a good name, and they just leverage it to many different products, packaging, and here's the Oreo pie crust, Oreo ice cream cone, the new Oreo cakeys, cakesters, I guess I should call them, Oreo brownies. They also have a line of Oreo cereal, Oreo desserts served in restaurants. So these are just, a good example of how scopable that capability of making of that brand, the asset of the brand name was. Okay. Now, let's look at a resources and capabilities audit. Okay. So let's think about the Coca-Cola company. We're going to look at its resources and capabilities. Now, we'll say the Coke brand is definitely a resource, and they've been able to extend that over many different products. In fact, Coke used to have a diet beverage. Their only diet beverage was called Tab, and Tab wasn't even a top 10 soda. When they introduced Diet Coke, which was basically Tab, just renamed Diet Coke, it became, I think, number 3 or number 2 best-selling soda instantly, just by extending the brand name of Coke into a diet product. And then with soda, we've seen both Coke and Pepsi extend their Coke and Pepsi name over 6, 7, or 10 different sodas. Pepsi, caffeine free, uh, Pepsi caffeine free, Pepsi Cherry, Pepsi Max, etc., etc. Just goes down the line. Okay. Now, same thing for Coke. How about production? Is definitely a capability of Coke, and also their marketing, and also don't forget their secret formula. Now, if we look at scarcity, is the Coke brand scarce? Is the Coke brand scarce? Sorry, flip slides there. Yes, it is. No one else can make products that are called Coke. Is production scarce? No. Anybody can produce and make soda. In fact, this Christmas season, they're selling a product where you make your own soda in your house. Marketing, is it scarce? Nope. Anybody can market. Coke is definitely an effective marketer, but people can market just as well as Coke. Is their secret formula scarce? Yes. Only Coca-Cola has their secret formula, which isn't the hugest secret. I think you can find out the main ingredients online, but just the way they mix it in their taste is definitely an asset of the company. If you look at the mobility, is the Coke brand mobile? Can someone else, manufacture under Coke? No, they can't. Can they do that with production? Yes, they can produce. Anybody, production can be copied from Coke, and so can their marketing. Their secret formula is not mobile. Is it scopable? The Coke brand, will that work in other markets, other countries around the world, onto other products? Yes, Coke brand is very scopable, and the production will work well as long as there's a water source. Coke can make soda. The marketing, that's sort of an NA for marketing. It's not relevant here. Coke secret formula, yeah, they can reproduce and make Coke taste like Coke no matter where they produce it. Is it an enduring advantage, meaning that with this lasts multiple lifetimes. And the Coke brand and the secret formula will definitely last for generations. Where the production and the marketing, you know, that's not a guaranteed. Someone else may be able to make soda more effectively, more efficiently, more cheaper than Coke, or have a better marketing campaign, which often happens between the soda companies. If we let's look at Disney. Okay, so what are some Disney's capabilities and resources? Definitely the Disney brand, their animators, their marketing, and their actors and writers. Now, if we look at mobility as it's scarce and is it mobile, um, we'll take it from a different avenue. We'll look at the Disney brand. It is definitely scarce and it's not mobile. No one else can produce films called Disney. Is it scopable? Yes, Disney brands are loved worldwide. Their amusement parks are in many countries. Their movies are translated into over 200 different countries, probably, or languages. And the Disney brand can be on TV. They have a successful TV channel, in the movies, in merchandising, and it is an enduring advantage because they're the only ones who have the characters, the brands, the trademarks. So that's really a huge strength. Now, the skilled animators. Are animators scarce? Partially. You can lock them into contracts or they work for a studio for a particular point of time. Are they mobile? You can say partially as well because animators, they don't work for one company forever. They can easily break their contracts, maybe at a penalty, but or they can engage and work with other studios. Are they scopable? No, because it's just an animator. It's a person. He can't unless if you want him, you can't duplicate him or her so easily. And it's not an enduring advantage, as we've seen. Pixar was able to take some of or a lot of Disney's skilled animators and utilize them in their own company. So the marketing, is it scarce? No. Is it mobile? Yes. Scopable, we don't see marketing as something we could rate as scopability. Is it enduring? No. So, marketing is pretty much the same for all companies. They could do it well. It's not guaranteed to always be done well. And you're only as good as your marketing team, which is mobile, which could be their marketing firms. Think the show Mad Men, if you've ever seen that. Okay, actors and writers. Are they scarce? No. There are plenty of actors and writers. You may argue there's only a few good ones, but typically Disney can take their pick of actors and writers. Are they mobile? Yes, they can definitely move around project to project. They're not. We can't really judge on their scopability. It's not an enduring source because writers and actors change. Sometimes, they may be hot at one moment and then not hot another moment. For example, Lindsay Lohan was an actress that made a series of movies with Disney. Herbie the Love Bug, um, was it Freaky Friday? There's a few movies they made with Disney, but at this point, I don't think they'd pick her up for a new movie. Okay. Okay, so this Jeffrey Katzenberg worked for Disney. Now he was a mobile asset because um, he was able, as a person, leave and work for another company, and he was a co-specialized asset because he wouldn't be able to, Disney wouldn't be able to make huge hit films um, without Katzenberg at the time, and Katzenberg wasn't able to do anything without the team of Disney's money and animators and production facilities. Um, now, now the success he had at Disney, which was a whole host of Disney movies. Hopefully, I'm not wrong about this. I believe The Little Mermaid, The Lion King, some of the big movies that Disney put out in the 90s, Aladdin. And then when he left to make his own company, DreamWorks, he was able to sometimes duplicate the success, say Shrek, and sometimes not. So now, when Katzenberg left, there was a big hole in Disney Animation, and they had a series of flops of animated films, including I think Sinbad was a huge flop they had, and they really had trouble until they started working with Pixar and eventually purchasing Pixar, were they able to fill and develop the capabilities they needed for a new computerized animated world. Okay, so let's wrap it up. So to outperform rivals, firms must create a bigger, huger amount of benefits compared to their costs. So that way, when someone purchases the product, the cost of the product is a value to the customer because they're getting so many benefits from it. Now, in order to really enhance your benefits, the more scarce and immobile your resources and capabilities are, the bigger premium you can charge for your products because no one else can compete with you as easily. Say, for example, if you look at Apple computers, they did a great job of creating scarcity in their closed network system, meaning that if you want to have software or an app or be part of the Apple family, you had to do business with Apple because of their closed network. So this, if you wanted to buy an Apple computer or an iPod or an iPhone, the only place to really buy them from is Apple. And it took them many years to develop this scarcity and develop these benefits of that closed network system. And that's really, some of these benefits where people first purchased an iPod, then maybe later an iPhone, and said, hey, I have the iPod and iPhone already. I might as well just get a Mac as well. And they were able to, generate the benefits of these network devices because they work so well together with each other. The files are easily transferable. They later on they've been enhancing this scarcity by creating the iCloud, integrating iTunes into as many products as possible in the Apple family, uh, being the guardians of creating the app structure on the iPhones and iPads, which they control the content and also get part of the revenues for the app. So if someone wants to sell a magazine on the iPhone or iPad through an app approved by Apple, Apple's going to get a piece of that money. If someone wants to sell one of the apps on the iStore, Apple's going to get a piece of that money. So the closed architecture created a scarcity where no one else could sell a product that was compatible without Apple's approval. And of course, the more scopable the assets are, the more they can move them into many more markets and get them into many more hands, the more beneficial it is. So a company, in order for a company to compete and to maximize shareholders' wealth, they really have to have a good understanding of what profits they have. What capabilities and resources they have in order to better leverage these into the marketplace. And as companies learn what their strengths are, you'll see more and more companies moving their products more aggressively into brand extensions, into realizing what do they have that is a strength, and how can I take that strength and get more from it? How can I make it scopable and move it to as many markets as possible? How can I introduce as many more people to the product as possible? So companies that have a good understanding of where these core competencies are and their resources and capabilities, they're able to recognize them, manage them, exploit them, and generate more profits. And that's really what this chapter is trying to talk about, and tying in together chapters 1 and 2 from the previous chapter. Okay, just to follow up here, I was talking about Coke and Pepsi before, and I realize now that Tropicana is a brand of Pepsi, and Minute Maid is the juice brand of Coca-Cola. So I just want to make a correction on that. My apologies. Now, if you do look at, I have the Pepsi website up here. If you do look at Pepsi, their brands, they have, of course, the Pepsi brands, Frito-Lay, Tropicana, Quaker brands, and Gatorade. Now, when Pepsi did buy Gatorade, they also got the Quaker brands, which was an advantage for them in the deal because they knew how to deal with food. Since they had a Frito-Lay snack division, which Coke doesn't have a big snack division at all, it made the merger of Gatorade and actually buying Quaker brands much more successful for Pepsi. And if we look at the let's see. So here's a list of the international brands of Pepsi: Pepsi Max, Pepsi Natural, Pepsi One, Pepsi Throwback, which is putting Pepsi in a can from the 70s, Pepsi Wild Cherry, Pepsi Caffeine Free, Diet Pepsi Lime, Diet Pepsi Vanilla, Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry, Caffeine Free Diet Pepsi, Sierra Mist. Okay, so this is just a list of the brand extensions. So Pepsi was able to take the one soda Pepsi and move it into many Pepsis that do well. And recently they had a good amount of success with their Mountain Dew line, where they had Mountain Dew and they successfully launched Code Red, Live Wire, Throwback, Dew Voltage, and Dew Whiteout. And Mountain Dew has been a huge source of brand extension profits for Pepsi. Okay, so I just want to make that quick correction. So that's it for Chapter 3, and I'll see you again here next time when we're going to discuss Chapter 4. Thank you.